Terra just launched 17 new single eyeshadows. The collection is called Dreaming Under the Moon, and they also have their Black Friday sale going on right now. It's a BOGO sale, and I will put all the details in the description box. These are not part of the sale. I do believe my code applies to these new shades, but my code does not apply to anything on sale, including the BOGO. I did receive this collection in PR, so thank you so much to Terra for sending it over to me. And I'm going to show you detailed swatches of every shade, also swatch comparisons, and then I'm going to be showing you how I created these two looks. So let's get right into it. First, 4 shades. These are the Ultra Smooth Terra formula. They have quite a bit of reflect and sparkle, but they're very, very smooth. And they are drier to the touch, but in like a silky way. So this is Supermoon Eclipse, Lunar Reflection, Solar Corona, and Mercurian Sunset. Super, super beautiful, very metallic. I do think some of these are a little bit more on the grungier side, like this one. It has almost like a silver, like a darker silver base. And so does this one. I do think these are quite similar. I'm going to add another layer of that one. I feel like they're really, really similar. Lunar Reflection is maybe a little bit more sheer. And then I'm adding another layer to this one, Solar Corona. So this one's more like a peachy orange. And then this one's a really vibrant magenta. Adding another layer. I do see teal sparkles throughout this shade, so that does set it apart from this one. And the base on it is a bit different. So they are different, but I don't think you need both. Here's a close-up to see the difference between them. You can see a little bit of the different sparkles throughout, and also the base is a little bit different. Next, 4 shades, slightly more varying in texture. Cosmic Cliffs, Midnight Aubergine, Pond's Brooks, and Arctic Lights. So Arctic Lights and Cosmic Cliffs have more of a flaky texture, and Pond's Brooks has also a little bit more of a texture, but not quite as textured as these two. And then the shade is very smooth, more like the first set of 4 shades that I swatched. And this one has like a dark, dark base to it with a purpley, pinky reflect. Then we have this red shade with blue sparkles throughout it. Pond's Brooks second layer. This one is definitely more on the sheer side. And then Arctic Lights. One of the slightly flakier shades, but does smooth out, very sparkly. A lot of dimensionality with Pond's Brooks. I see some peach and light yellow golden sparkles throughout this one. And this one is definitely the most shifty. And for the close-up, you can see the blue sparkles throughout Midnight Aubergine, and then the different sparkles throughout Pond's Brooks. Next up is Hubble, Aurora, Divine Chaos, and Etta Carene. Aurora does have a larger particle size. It is a little bit more flaky, while Hubble is very, very smooth and highly reflective, like the first 4 shades. And so is Divine Chaos, maybe just a tiny bit more texture. So here's Hubble. This one has so many different sparkles throughout it. I was not able to find anything to really compare to a lot of these shades because they are so dimensional. So they're very unique. Look at this one. Oh my goodness. This one literally looks like a galaxy. And then this shade, these are all pretty dark. A little bit more sparkle with a slightly more texture shades. And then here's a close-up. You can see the different flecks throughout these shades, especially when they go out of focus. It really shows the different colors. Moon River, Geomagnetic, Sun's Glow, Forest in the Winter. So Moon River is pretty flaky, a little bit chunky. You can see by the texture compared to, for example, this one is definitely a little bit more smoother. And then Geomagnetic also has a little bit more texture to it. And these two are just very sparkly. They do have a slightly larger particle size, but not as flaky as this shade, Moon River. And I think that's going to be also obvious in the level of sparkle. So yeah, it does smooth out, but it needs a little bit of pressure. That one looks like it has a brown base to it. And then this one is a little bit darker. And then this one's a really beautiful neutral shadow. And then this one's got a lot of different things going on for it. This shade has a dark base to it with a green reflect and some red flecks throughout it. And then close up, you can see the different flecks throughout this one. And the last shade is M33. This one is quite smooth. and has a bunch of different flecks throughout it. Very dimensional shade. And this one's gonna get its own swatch moment. Definitely see some green flecks throughout with a brown base shifting to green as well. All the way to harsh angle. Super, super dimensional shade. And here's Forest Winter just for comparison. It has a different tone of green. It also has a gray base to it, and the red sparkles throughout are not as obvious. They're much more prominent in M33. You can really see the tonal difference, especially close up. For the first look, I'm going to be dipping into the Rosy Jingle palette from Odin's Eye, and I'm going to be picking up Warmth. I thought I would test out some more mattes from some of these palettes since I need to do my monthly palette ranking, and I always want to make sure I try the palettes out further. So I'm just popping that into the crease. I'm going to take a little bit of Gentle Memories as well and just put it on the edge of that. And this is going to be a really, really, really simple look, so we're going to keep it to these two mattes. I'm going to put a little bit more out here actually, and a little bit underneath my lower lash line. Just kind of blow it out. Got a little bit of the Shine On Shimmer Enhancer from me and Cleona's collab. Up Supermoon Eclipse on the slightly fluffier packing brush, me and Cleona's collab, and I'm just going to put that essentially all over the lid. I feel like these tones really play well together. And if you wanted to deepen this, go in with a deeper mauve tone shade out here. But I wanted to do a really simple look. And I love how that came out. Here's the first finished look. For the second look, I'm going to be dipping into the mattes in the Shall We Somber Garden palette. And I'm going to be using this shade, and I think the dark blue. I'm a little in between using one of these two, but I think I'm going to go in with the blue in the outer corner. So I'm first taking the grassy shade and popping that into my crease. And a little bit into the outer corner. And then I'm going to take the lighter shade, the lighter green, and I'm going to use that to blend this out. I feel like it's stuck down a little bit, so I'm just using that to kind of further feather out the edges. And then taking the dark blue, I'm just going to put it on the outermost corner, a little bit on an angle. I'm so glad I didn't do my base this time so that I wouldn't have already fall out immediately as I put on eyeshadow. And then I'm going to bring it underneath my lower lash line. And I know it's going to stick down weird because my eyes are already watering. Picking up a little bit more of that lighter olive shade and just taking it to feather out the edges underneath and out on the outermost corner. And just kind of really blending everything together on this outer corner. Taking a little bit more of that shade. And putting on some Shine On Shimmer Shadow Enhancer. And I always like to tap it out. Pond's Brooks on the slightly skinnier brush. And I'm going to do a faux half cut crease with this one. Now this one is a little bit flaky. And then M33 on the other brush. This kind of formula is definitely really nice to pick up with a slightly fluffier brush. And that's just going to go right in the center of my lid onto the outer corner. Here's the second finished look. So as always with Terra Moon's collections, we have a variety of different textures and finishes. There are some flaky shades in here, but for the most part, they're very, very smooth. And Terra Moon's has a really beautiful smooth formula. Super, super metallic, high shine, very reflective, very easy to apply. There's definitely some very unique shades. There's a couple of shades I could not find anything to compare to because they have a bunch of different multicolored sparkles throughout. And I've been really loving seeing that from Terra Moon's and other brands as well. It just adds a little bit of extra oomph to the shadows and just makes them more unique. And Terra Moon's does have some very unique shades, but they also have some shades within their range, some discontinued now, that are a little bit similar to some other shadows that they have. So that is definitely something to keep out on, which is why I do the comparison swatches so that you don't end up buying two of the same shadows, especially because multi-chromes are more expensive. I absolutely love all these smoother shades. I think the standout shade for me is definitely Supermoon Eclipse, which is the shade I'm wearing on the lid. I think that one is really, really beautiful and has a unique base to it. It is a little bit similar to Lunar Reflection. I personally prefer the other one. I also really love Midnight Aubergine and would love to see some more variations of this kind of shade. The other shades that I think are quite unique are for sure the ones with all the different sparkles throughout it. So Aurora, for example, as well as Divine Chaos, which by the way, this one is in honor of Megan Trutt, and the proceeds of this one will go to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention through the end of 2024, as well as Etta Caronay and also Forest in Winter and M33. Of course, I haven't used all the shades in here. Definitely stay tuned for my Instagram. I do really want to feature some of these in a reel. I'm really excited to especially show off all the different sparkles throughout them. I don't personally gravitate towards using some darker shades like some of these with the different sparkles throughout, but if I am to use them, I would use them in the outer corner or to create like a really sparkly dimensional eyeshadow wing with them. But they're not necessarily shades that I would put all over the lid or anywhere up into my crease. So I do see myself gravitating towards the lighter shades like the ones up here, as well as these over here. And then also Sun's Glow is a great shiny but a little bit more dimensional neutral. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see a video talking about the different textures that they have to offer within their range. I think that would be a helpful video. So let me know in the comments below which shade is your favorite from this new collection. And if you enjoy this kind of content, I have so many videos up like this already on my channel. I will put them up on the screen in case you want to keep watching. So thank you so much. I hope to see you next time.